What is a growth product manager? Growth hacking, product-led growth, growth teams. You might have heard a lot of these words popping up about this super trendy and quickly growing role. If you want to know what a growth PM is, you're in luck today because I'm a senior PM leading a growth team, and I'm here today to shed some light on this very exciting role with you. Today we'll talk about what the role is and how it's different from a core PM, what the key goals of a growth product manager are, and where they sit inside of the organization. You might have heard of this idea that you might have an amazing product, but if nobody's heard about it, you're not going to earn any money. Well, marketing teams embrace this, and so do product growth teams. The difference is that the product growth team will take capabilities that support this and build them directly into the software and technology as well. I think the best way to understand the growth product manager is within the ecosystem of the core product manager and the marketing team that they often work with. The difference between the core product manager is that the core PM will focus on solving user problems using technology, and the growth product manager will focus on solving business problems using technology. They might answer questions like, how do we drive more value out of the existing product, and what steps will we take to accomplish that? I think that's easiest to understand with an example of these different roles. So let's imagine we are working at Starbucks Digital. So we have a core product manager, and they might be answering questions like, if we have customers going through the online order, what is the way to get them in and out as fast as possible and increase customer satisfaction while doing that? In contrast, the marketing person or the product marketing person might be thinking, what kind of Instagram ads drive the most people to download our online orders app? Finally, the growth product manager might be focusing on what are the key steps that users need to take in the first 7 days since getting the app to make sure that they convert into a sticky and engaged user that keeps coming back. How can we create incentives inside of the app that encourage users to share with their friends or invite more users into the online order system? And finally, what kind of upsells should we insert to the moment of ordering to increase the total order value? So this growth product manager, instead of focusing on the user problems of customer satisfaction like the core PM was, they're focusing on business value, such as the total order value and how much money each order is bringing in, or things like referrals and how many customers are coming in so that the product grows, there's more people, and in turn there's more revenue. So some of you might be asking, shouldn't all the other PMs be focusing on this too? And it's true, they should. Actually, there's a lot of overlap between the goals of the core PM and the goals of the growth PM. And if you don't have a growth PM or a growth team, the core PM will be responsible for all of these goals. However, if you do have a growth team, it's an extremely collaborative role, and you partner with the core PMs to help them accomplish their product goals. You look at all of the amazing and exciting features that they're building, and you make sure that there's enough users going into them and sticking to them that the product can grow in value. So I'll show you how this works at my specific organization. All right, so I want to walk you through a little bit of how a growth product manager can fit into a product organization. And I'll take you through the example of how this works at my company. So here is my growth team. I'm the growth product manager, and I work most closely with my UX designer lead and my engineering lead. So this is a pretty classical product manager setup, and the engineering lead manages the engineering team. So together we are fully staffed to follow the product roadmap, build software features, and meet all of our growth goals. So those goals have to do with things like customer acquisition, customer retention, revenue from those users, and so forth. And we pursue those goals in support of the core product management team. On the core team in particular, I support 3 different product managers who all have different products that they focus on. So they have their own engineering teams, their own UX designer, and they're really focusing on making amazing products for those users. I, however, focus on making sure people hear about those products, they start using them, and they get retained, and so forth. So, for example, if we have this product manager is building like a karaoke feature or a karaoke product, he's making sure that the karaoke experience is amazing, everybody can sing the songs and see the lyrics and so forth, and I'm making sure that people are downloading the app, they're building habits around creating, karaoke nights on Fridays, they're inviting their friends to try it, and getting all of those people engaged with his product. That way, this team can really focus on goals around customer satisfaction and the usability of the product, while I focus on making that product grow. And so some key partners for that process are my data scientist and the marketing team. So this data scientist actually supports all of us, and what I work with her for is really understanding, do we have the data to fulfill our different KPIs and metrics? Are we creating valid experiments, and what data do we need to pull for the experiments that inform our features? And all of that data foundation that makes sure that we're having data-driven decisions as we move forward with accomplishing our goals. The marketer also has a lot of overlap with my goals around customer acquisition. So she wants to acquire users. She also has a lot of frameworks between marketing and growth PM that are very similar around how to grow the customer base. And so I really enjoy working with the marketing team in terms of a lot of these goals. So altogether, this group of people is the high-level span of who I work with the most day to day. There's also a ton of other people not listed here, but I do think this is a great representation. And I bet there are a lot of similar models at other companies. I would say there's also a lot of different models where maybe, first of all, this team might not exist. Second of all, you might have the PM accomplishing these goals in addition to their product goals, or you might have the growth PM embedded into one of these product teams, or you might also have each of these teams having their own growth teams. So there's a lot of different setups depending on the size of the company and its goals, but this is our model, and it definitely works great for the scale that we're at right now. All right, so a very important concept for growth PMs is the management of the customer lifecycle and the customer acquisition funnel. I want to share with you guys a great framework called the Pirate Metrics Framework, and this one is very popular for illustrating the key steps of that customer lifecycle. It's called Pirate Metrics because it goes R, A-A-R-R-R, and I'll give you just a very high-level summary of what this is. I'm happy to do a more in-depth video about this as well because I do work with the concepts from this framework every single day. So to take you through the letters, A is acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, and referral. And so the goals of the growth product manager are to drive every part of this platform for sure, but especially to look at the different questions in each layer of this funnel and understand where does our product need the most work, first of all. You need to look at the user's pathway through this and identify, oh, maybe we're doing great on customer acquisition, but most people are canceling at the end of the free trial. And so we're losing all of those people. We need them to convert into paid users. And so let's set some goals around improving that part of the funnel. It's really about using data to analyze that whole funnel, see where the pain points and the growth opportunities are, and then come up with creative ways to tackle them. And so that moves into the last section, which is what are the key skills of a growth product manager and what are the ways they go about meeting these goals. So by far, the most important skill of a growth product manager is comfort with data, ability to be analytical and make great decisions in a data-driven way. So your growth PM should be spending a lot of time looking at data around different parts of this funnel. And more importantly, rapid experimentation is a huge part of the growth PM role. What kind of experiments can you run in a small and affordable way to test different hypotheses about how you could grow to determine what are the right features to build? So a very popular, tool that people use for this is A/B tests. So for example, you have a website and you think, okay, well, we want more user acquisition. We want more people to buy the product. And so let's see, if we move the buy button over here, or if we add some sort of text or image over there, or if we change the color. Let's do A/B experiments with all of these things and see, okay, what actually has an effect on the purchase behavior. And so this way you optimize and experiment to create these improvements to your growth and to your acquisition and retention and referral and all of these different steps. And so this can happen on two different scales. So in the example I just mentioned, you might just be changing the location of the button or the color, and it's kind of a very small scale thing. But this can also happen in much larger ways. Like you might build an entire new feature or a new part of a product, specifically focusing on the ability to refer your friends. A very extreme example of this is the Facebook growth team. They have done every possible growth strategy and every possible optimization they could. And through all of their data analytics, they realized they had actually saturated the market of users on the internet. This is many years back, but they realized that pretty much everybody that was available on the internet to be using Facebook was using it. And so their growth goal actually became to enhance and grow the number of people using the web day to day. And so they came up with some crazy techniques to actually do this, and they think they like offered free internet, or I don't remember what they did, but they increased the number of people on the internet, and therefore they got those people onto Facebook, and that was one of the biggest steps for their growth at a period of time that they were about to plateau. So the ways that you can go about accomplishing these goals is very diverse. So back to the point, the top number one skill is the analytical acumen and the ability to make data-driven decisions. And the scientific method is a really key way that growth PMs go about doing this. Next, user experience. This is kind of a standard one for product managers, and it's also very important for growth PMs. So understanding, what kind of experiences are delightful to the user, what is something that can cause friction and pain. That comes with understanding user problems, making wireframes, and also specifically a focus on understanding how do users go about onboarding and what are the experiences within retention and referral and so forth. The next important step for growth PMs is the ability to work with other teams and be respected and diplomatic. So I think this is one of the more collaborative roles within already a collaborative field of PM, and often you have to ask other teams to do something for you or align the product managers you're working with your goal. And so it's just really important to make sure that you have the power through that social capital that you build to achieve your goals. And finally, project management in terms of the speed at which you need to operate and the kind of business objectives that you're meeting. They're very quantitative. You need to make sure that experiments are happening at a very rapid and frequent pace, and that you're building the experiments, you're getting the data you need from them, you're using that data to inform critical decisions, and you're being able to show, look at the customer acquisition we've gotten, look at the growth we've created, and look at how that's affected the company's revenue and growth. So definitely being able to just get shit done and show results is super critical in a growth PM role, which is extremely, measurable and quantitative. And more so than sometimes in PM, you have a lot of user experience goals that are much harder to measure, or, data collection is a little bit less emphasized, but that shouldn't be the case in a growth PM role almost ever. All right, so let's do a quick recap of what we covered today. So the growth PM is a type of PM that builds software features in order to meet business goals, in contrast to the core PM that does this to meet user goals. And the growth PM focuses on metrics such as acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, and referral in order to drive those business goals. It's extremely important for them to be very data-driven and focus on rapid experimentation to test hypotheses and figure out which are the right features to build to drive growth. I'd encourage you to check out this exciting role on your path in product management. So let me know if today's video was helpful in helping understand what this role is all about. If you like this type of content, please like and subscribe, and let me know what else you would like to learn about product management, growth PMs, the pirate metrics, and so forth. See you again next time on Product Chat.